Today's podcast was a lot of fun. I had my friend Jesse Burrell on, who is one of the founders of Batch Leads, one of the top software providers in all of the real estate investing industry. We talked about what his journey was like starting out just like me as a real estate wholesaler, flipper, and then going into the tech and SaaS space where he's really thrived and made a lot of wealth and helped a lot of people along the way. During the second half of the show, we get into deep about tech and what it's like building a company of over 160 employees with over a $1 million a month overhead. So it's super cool to talk about it. And it's really expanded my mind to think about what it would take to create a new company that has a potential $1 billion valuation. So you want to make sure you stay to the end. Now let's jump into it. Are you looking to grow your real estate investing business? My company, Future Flipper, can help. We've taught hundreds of people all over the country how to flip, wholesale, and buy rental properties. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your investing journey. Whether you're trying to get your first deal or scale your company, Future Flipper can help. We have courses, coaching, and events for all levels of investors. So if you want to take the next step, go to futureflipper.com and book a free consultation to see how we can best help you. Once again, that's futureflipper.com. One of the hardest parts about real estate investing is finding a good contractor. That's where Southwestern Custom Construction comes in. They've been doing remodels in Nevada and Arizona since 2006. As a fully licensed and bonded general contractor, they're able to help with any type of renovation, all the way from an entry-level fixer-upper to a custom luxury home. Southwestern Custom Construction specializes in working with investors. I've personally used them on many of my projects, so I know their team is legit. If you want to get a bid on a project, head over to customhomenow.com. Once again, that's customhomenow.com. Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest.
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
Innovate.
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
And inspire. I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, I have a very special guest, actually one of the sponsors of the show, Jesse Burrell of Batch Leads. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming down from sunny Phoenix. I was there a couple weeks ago or something.
You were?
Yeah.
I felt like I flew to the same weather. It was horrible.
Dude, it's been really hot here lately.
110s.
It's crazy. Yeah, 110s every day. But, you know, I was in Georgia last week, and I'll tell you, their 90 degree with humidity is worse.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was dying. But for those of you who don't know, Jesse's had a very interesting career, starting out as a real estate investor, which we'll talk about. But to me, the thing that he's done that's really extraordinary is building out Batch Leads and the whole, you know, community and family of batch products with Batch Dialer and Batch Driven. And they're tools that not only I use to find deals that have made me, you know, probably millions at this point, but also all of my students and just tons of people all across the country use. And in turn, he's become a very wealthy man by creating such an awesome product, but it's also made other people wealthy too. So I'm excited to dive into his journey about how he ended up there, because I don't think you're a tech guy.
I'm not at all.
So he's not a tech guy, and he created a tech company that's doing tens of millions of dollars in revenue. So before we get into that, though, dude, let's just hear your journey, dude. Like, where'd you start out at?
So basically, I started, my friend Danielle Kroll, who you know.
Yep.
She started working for a real estate investor, I think in like 10 or 11. And they were buying rentals. So they had a small fund, and then they're also flipping homes. And they needed someone to start flipping homes. And I came on as an employee and basically was an acquisition manager. But you could still find deals on the market at that time through short sales and foreclosures back in Arizona. So that's basically how I got started, was just looking for fix and flips for a real estate investor for like a full year.
Okay. How'd you do? I mean, how many deals did you lock up that first year?
Probably, it wasn't like 20.
20?
Probably.
And then were they like MLS or what?
Yeah, MLS. So all MLS deals. This was in 14. So this was before I even knew what wholesaling was.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had no clue what was going on. I was just getting deals. The thing I learned the most though was I was able to go to the flips and I got to learn rehab costs. And he had to teach me okay, this is how much this house is going to cost. This is how I make my profit. So I really learned how to underwrite. And that was the valuable lesson I learned probably my first year that I didn't even realize how valuable it was.
Yeah. That's one thing I tell people all the time now is like most people want to start out becoming a wholesaler.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, you don't understand like real estate investing if that's all you do.
Right.
You know, you don't know what it's like to do rehabs, how to manage projects, how to raise money. I mean, there's so much more that goes into the big picture of real estate investing, not the quick buck.
Yeah.
So that's cool that you immediately like learned like most of those things right out the gate.
Yeah. And I was helping do a little bit of the property management. So I had to place a couple tenants in, which is horrible. I hate property management. But I got to learn cap rates and got to learn, you know, rental grade houses and the things you do to maximize profit. So, I mean, it was all a valuable year in my opinion. I don't think I would have done as well if I didn't learn that first year.
Yeah. What I mean, how old were you when you were doing that?
I'm old, man. I was a late bloomer. 28, I believe, or 29.
Okay, so you're 29 when you started your real estate career.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, why'd you jump to 29? What were you doing before that, dude?
I mean, I went to college for a long time. I wanted to be a professional poker player.
Oh, really?
I sure did.
Okay.
So played a lot of poker online back during that boom.
Full tilt.
Yeah, full tilt, America's Car Room.
Did your money get like stuck in full tilt? Did you lose it?
I stopped actually a little bit before that. And then I was going to school. I'm a golfer and I've golfed my whole life. So I actually wanted to get into, you know, being a teacher for golf is what my goal was. That's what brought me to Phoenix. And I learned after the 2 years of doing internships for golf, I'm like, there is no money in golf. I was like, I want to be a member at the country club. I don't want to work at the country club.
Dude, you know I'm golfing Thursday. You might have to extend your trip.
Where are you playing?
Dragon Ridge.
Ooh, I've heard that's nice.
I joined my membership there, and I love it. I go every week now. I'm trying to become decent.
Well, next time you're in Phoenix, I have a membership at Phoenix Country Club.
Okay.
It's a great course. Fun to
Okay.
play.
I'm gonna bring my clubs next time because now I'm taking it serious. I'm getting lessons. I'm trying to break 80. That's my goal.
I could help.
Yeah. So okay, you're trying to play poker. Were you successful at that?
I did okay, but the swings were horrible. You know, and
Dude, the mental grind of poker, the ups and downs,
Like,
the bad beats.
yes.
The bad beats will get you.
I was never making a fortune, but you know, in your early 20s, I'm profiting $3,000 to $10,000 a month, basically month over month over month. So I was able to have fun, do things, but it really prolonged starting a career of, you know, that's the only way.
A real job.
Yes. And I was like, finally got to a point, and that's when I kind of transitioned into the golf thing. And then I realized from that, I was like, I don't love that. And I wasn't great ever working for someone. I'd always have a good idea, or I'd always want to like look at the system or the process and how can we make it better. And people would always just shut me down, like working those corporate jobs.
Yeah.
I was just
You're
frustrated.
like, hey, this is like what the greatest golfers do. This is what you should do. And they're like, nah.
But even just working at a golf course, like, hey, we could be more efficient and give a better customer experience to the guest if we did this, this, and this. And like, well, that's not how we do it.
Yeah, they didn't want to hear it.
And I was
So you
baffled.
realized you couldn't be an employee, essentially.
I'm not employable. Never
Yeah.
was, never could be.
Yeah, I love that. So you do the golf thing, you do the poker thing. I mean, what led you to real estate? Like, how did was
Danielle.
Dan? She was just your friend. And,
Yeah. We worked at a restaurant together. So I had restaurant jobs in between all this. I was just basically doing everything. So I went to college basically all of my 20s on and off.
You sound like my COO, Sean Bob. We call him Van Wilder. He went for like 8 years and never graduated.
I did graduate with actually a nice degree, the business science at WP Carey, which is their business school at ASU. But it sure did took me a long time. I should have been a doctor and a lawyer by that time.
What does business science even do?
It's just it's the BS degree. So there's
just a business degree.
yeah, there's BAs and BSs.
Okay.
BS is better, but I never did anything with it. So
Yeah, I got an economics degree, and I don't know if it was a BS or a BA.
it's BS, I'm sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm gonna start telling people that I have the economics degree of science. So you're doing all these jobs, and then Danny joins this real estate firm.
Yeah.
And she's probably making some decent money.
Yeah.
She brings you on.
Yeah.
And then how long does that go?
That went for a year, and then I was lucky enough to get creative with my boss. I got my first condo in Old Town, so he bought it off market for like $50,000, a nice one bedroom in Old Town. and renter moved out. I was like, hey, I want to buy this. And what I did was I got a little creative. I was like, I had him pay for the rehab, and then we just tacked it on to the purchase price. So I got a fully remodeled condo in 2016 or something for $72,000 or something is what we agreed on for the price.
Right.
And then 2 years later, I sold it for $125,000 when I moved into my next house.
Nice.
So that was pretty interesting. And then after that, he was starting to shut it down because he said the market was going to turn in like whatever year that was, 2016 or 17. So he's a little early.
You could pick any year. Everyone's been saying that for the last 10 years.
And then from there, Danielle started flipping. So I got my real estate license and started selling her deals. So I would just go look around what I did for him, and I was able to make a lot more money instead of just getting, paid a small 0.5% for every deal that I would get for them. Now I could rep them on the buy side.
Right.
And I did that for just a few months, and then all those deals started drying up, and that's when wholesale came to me through Jared and Danielle, to where we both all kind of learned it at the same time.
Yeah, so they start figuring out this wholesale thing. What year is that? 2016, 17?
15 or 16.
15 or 16. And then you guys ended up starting your own company together?
Yeah, we did. I actually introduced them. So, like, I was friends with Jared through a friend and obviously Danielle through work. And I was like, hey, these guys are both super smart. Like, I'm going to partner with them and start doing this.
I want to be the dumbest one.
I sure did.
Those two, let me tell you, they are, I'm trying to think of the right word. The word I'm thinking of is like cerebral, but I don't think that's what I'm trying to say. It's just like.
That's a good word. No, that's a good word for them.
Yeah, like they're like not sharks, but just like they're so sharp compared to normal people mentally. And you see, I mean, when I see successful business people, I see it in multiple ways. I mean, I see the charismatic guy who could talk his way into, whatever he wants to do, right? Then I see the people who are just that much smarter than everybody, and like, they're just scheming up something that you have no idea what they're doing, but once it hits, you're like, where did that come from?
That's Jared all day long.
Exactly. Every time I'm like, what are you up to these days? Like, let's hear it. I'm certain I've never heard of it before.
He has this crazy new thing that he's learned, and this new master plan, and he's always just been so eager to learn. He's really fun to be around, and he has that energy. He's always smiling, he's always happy, but he's always scheming on something.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna have to get him on the podcast because he's always a good interview. So you guys do the company together. What happens next?
So I'm happy now, but they fell in love. They're getting married now, but it wasn't very easy when, we have 3 partners and 2 of them start dating and then living together to make decisions, together. And they wanted to start building their own portfolio. It's really hard to have 3 partners, which I have again. So we'll get to that later. It works now, but it was just, we had different visions of how we wanted to lead a company. We had different visions of how we wanted to invest our profits. And it was tough for a little bit, but they're still like best friends again, and we hang out and do stuff, and we've collabed on some stuff too. So, they're killing it, and we're doing okay too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So that's cool to see that, in a partnership, whatever, you guys break up as partners, but to see both succeed in their own ways, and then to see, still the friendship and everything there, like, that's cool. I mean, most partnerships don't end up that way. Usually it's animosity or, both crash and burn, or one crashes and burns who thinks they can do it by themselves, and then, whatever.
Yeah, no, it turned out to be a blessing to where I'm still able to go to them for advice. They come to me for some stuff sometimes. We all have different skill sets, and I'm just grateful for them. She brought me into it. I would not be where I'm at without her.
Right.
So I am forever thankful. She was one of my best friends before I got into real estate, and I'm glad we were able to get back because, at the end of the day, a great friend means a lot more than any amount of money.
Right, for sure. So you end up going your separate ways. They continue on the wholesale path.
Yep.
I've bought deals from them. What happens to you?
So I end up bringing a few people from the company that we had together over with me, and I basically started wholesaling and flipping myself, and it was basically, just competition. But it was nice being able to flip homes and keep 100% of the profits instead of 33% of the profit. So I really started cherry picking our best deals, and I had a small team, 2 or 3 acquisition guys, 1 dispo, and a lead manager. Did like 50 deals to 100 deals my first couple of years.
That's crazy. So, I mean, for a guy having success doing that, like, what made you stop?
What do you mean?
Well, you were having success as the wholesale side and doing all that, and you built out this company, but then you started transitioning to batch. So what happened?
That's a weird story as well.
Dude, I want to hear it. You just got tons of weird stories, man.
So that I lost my skip tracing, and we were doing a lot of cold calling at that time. And I met Evo, my now partner, at a mastermind, and he's like, "Hey, I found this new great skip tracing source. I'll hook you up." And I was like, "Okay, how much?" He's like, "Oh, he's not good at sales." He's like, "Cost." It's like, "I love you, brother." So then I started having success with it, and at that time, it was really hard to skip trace or batch, skip tracing in large quantities, and I was able to do that. So it was really nice to do that, and from there, I was like, "Hey, I might have some friends that may want to use this product," and like before we knew it, we had a business.
So, obviously, there's way more that goes into that story, not just this works, cool. Like let's make a business out of it.
It really just started exploding once Brent Daniels, we got him to use it, and then all of his students, and then it just snowballed into this big thing, and we like just looked at each other like, okay, like we need support, and then you're just in catch-up mode trying to keep up with demand at that time.
Right. So let's talk about that with business. I mean, for me, I've started many different businesses as well, and some take a while and you can grow slow. Some demand just starts crazy right out the gate. I'm experiencing that with Lunar Ecom right now, my e-commerce company. Just the moment I announced it, it was just like all this demand, and we've had to just hire like crazy to help with the onboarding and the customer service and all this stuff. And it's like, I did not predict it would just grow that fast, which is great, but it's just part of business, versus like flipping houses and stuff was always like a slower grow, even though, in hindsight, compared to most people, we scaled it really fast. It's not like we needed all these extra guys to do it though.
Right.
There's
a lot more complexity with selling products in a real estate company. What I've came to learn with when someone's getting onboarded, you need support for people.
Exactly.
You need account managers for people. If something goes, it's way different than, and I had to learn that, and it took us some time, but it's a lot different than just building out a real estate company and what I was used to. I thought I was going to be able to use a lot of traits I learned here for there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I had to read a lot of books and go to quite a few seminars, because you have to learn quick. And the SaaS real estate investing space, some companies do a really good job, and we had to learn quickly to make sure that we could be one of those companies that really support our users.
Right. Yeah, and I'm learning the same thing with the e-commerce space. It's just it really is more, you have your product, which is why people are coming to your business, but at the end of the day, with these SaaS products and digital products, I'll call them, like what we have with e-com, it's more about just customer service and can you...
I'll do you one better. It's actually the customer experience more than the service. So customer service, that's something that's reactive. That's someone reaching out to you saying, "Hey, we have a problem." If you hit the customer experience right, then you already know before they're going to have a problem, or you're helping them, or you're calling them, to where their experience, those first 90 days are the most important days that you'll have. Either you're going to have someone that wants to try something else because they're not happy with their experience, or they're going to be a customer forever because of the experience you give them.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that. I'm going to definitely write that down in my notes. So you end up, you got your wholesale company, which is doing great. You guys are doing a lot of deals. And then you kind of start this other one up as just, hey, there was this problem in the industry of people getting their skip tracing shut down. I was actually one of those people too, as well. Later on in my career, our skip trace got shut down.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, by the way, skip tracing is simply getting a homeowner's phone number, contact information, etc. There are companies out there that provide this data for you. And it seems like a lot of investors were using what's called TLO back at the time.
Right.
And eventually they shut people down. It was weird, man. Getting approved with TLO was like super odd. You had to like have a locked cabinet and like a locked door, like just the most random things. Like,
You
all
have
right,
a lock on your door and then there has to be a cabinet in there with a lock, and that's where you put your. I was so confused with that process.
everything about it was so weird. And they were notorious for shutting people down. And I don't know that many people still use them these days. Most people will just use what you've created with batch leads. And
Yeah, it wasn't meant for real estate. That's why you got shut down. People were misleading how they were using the information.
Yeah.
And that's not what TLO is meant for. I mean, people are getting social security numbers and stuff like you shouldn't be getting that. So.
Yeah. Well, and that was what I was like tripping out about. I'm like, dude, like you can get people's socials like this, like that easy.
That's a story for another time for sure.
Yeah. So either way, that was the early days of real estate investing, and then it became more sophisticated. And like you figured out, there was this need that investors were having. Like, how do we get information to market better, right? At the end of the day. And you came into your own problem, and Evo provided you a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you start telling your homies about it.
Basically, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you just have this huge demand, even though you may not have intended to have a business out of it.
Correct.
Like, right out the gate.
So, and then that started spawning off. Now we have, 5 products. So the next product was Batch Lead Stacker, to where I wanted to be able to have, a way to where I can manage all those data, not skip trace the same phone numbers over and again, and be able to organize data and stack it and do a lot of different things. So that came in, which is now called Batch Leads. And then we started just introducing all the different products that we have inside of it, to where it's more of like a all-in-one marketing tool for real estate investors, and some agents use it and some insurance people use it too.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you guys' demand grows, you go to Evo and you're like, yo, we should just probably make this official. Is that how it went down?
So yeah, basically what happened was we kept the batch skip tracing separate, and then we each had our separate wholesale companies still.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened like 6 to 9 months, and we each had our different offices, and finally got to a point where we were so inefficient with our time. I looked at him, and his sister is our other partner, Annie. Shout out to you, Annie. You're great. And we basically just combined everything, both of our wholesale operations, and so we could all be in the same place, to where we could be a lot more efficient, because we're buying data separately. We're still marketing to the same people. It was such an inefficient way, to where we knew that we're fit. We dated for a while. Okay, let's bring it all in together. And then we just started moving from there.
So after 6-9 months, you guys make it official. You all become partners together.
Yep.
You're back in deja vu again.
Yes.
You're with Annie's Evo's sister?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So,
So I'm like, they're not going to date each other, hopefully.
you don't got to worry about that.
But it was actually something that I really thought about for a long time, is can this grow enough to where we could all hit our financial goals?
Yeah.
And that checked a box. And the thing that didn't work with Danny and Jared that worked with Annie and Evo was they let me be the visionary and the leader, when Danielle and Jared, we'd never defined roles, and that's where I'm suited best, is to lead, come up with ideas, relationships, all those things. They're both more integrators, to where they want to be behind the scenes.
They're analytical,
Just like Danny and Jared, but like we just didn't know what my role was. We just started businesses. It was all of our first business together. We had no clue. We thought the smartest person was supposed to be the leader, and that's not always necessarily true, because Jared is smarter than me when it comes to book smart, and so is Danielle. But when it comes to street smart and understanding people and how to motivate them, I have that skill set that they don't have.
Right. No, for sure. They're all drastically different skill sets. I know for a fact I cannot manage people. I'm just trash at it. I'm like, yo, here's your role. Just go do it. Like, if you don't do it, I don't know. But that's not how people operate. People are not, usually self-disciplined or self-motivated or accountable the way that I might be.
But that's where you hire I've been very good at hiring leadership, to where people that are really good at doing that, to where, I have some people I really trust, just like you have some very good people that help you bring the vision down and you let them, manage the show for you.
Yeah, no, and that's what I realized. I'm so grateful. I had a guy, his name's Gary Harper. I talked about him a couple of times on the podcast.
Gary's great.
And he's with, Sharper Solutions, or I forget what he calls the whole enterprise.
Yeah, Sharper. We went to him for a while, but we switched from EOS to we use OKRs now.
Okay. So both of those are business systems basically for creating, structure and org charts and systems processes in any business. Doesn't have to be real estate. Obviously, Jesse's now has a tech company. And but I use the same thing for everything I'm doing, whether it's home run offer, whether it's Lunar, whether it's Future Flipper. We all have the same process and everything across all of them. And it was after I finally met Gary that I realized that that's how you have to run business. Everyone needs a defined role. Everyone needs, every business needs a visionary. Every business needs an integrator. And if you're listening to this and you have no idea what I'm talking about and you don't have, $20,000 to go drop on a coach, just read the book Traction.
Rocket Fuel as well.
Yeah. Rocket Fuel is the follow-up to Traction.
Correct. But it really shows the difference between, that's one of my favorite books, to where I was like, I read it after I was partners with Annie and Evo. I'm like, this is why we work.
This is what we're doing. Yeah, so check that out, guys, by Gino Wickman, and he's like the founder of the EOS model. So, obviously you and I are both at the top with those visionary roles, and probably not very good at managing people. Whereas Evo and Annie and all my other people, the Sean Bobs, the Matt Bontrangers at True Books, and the Brian DeVillas at Future Flipper can all handle the day-to-day and all that. And that's why it's successful, because you need both.
Correct.
So, you guys build out batch skip tracing. And I know at some point you guys transitioned away from wholesaling into just focusing on that.
Yeah.
When was that?
July? I think it was a year ago. July. I had to make the decision, because I'm sure you went through this, to where you get spread really thin.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of people that have that use and have put their value in using our products, to where I had to make the decision is we have to, if this is what we're really going to go do and we're going to be the best at, all of our efforts need to be to support these people, to have them go get deals. And we had to stop doing it. It just got to a point to where having our time still focusing on that just didn't make sense. And I'm not a coach. And as I said, I wanted to be a golf instructor, a golf coach. This is the way that I could really give back to the real estate community, is really try and help people build products for them to get deals. And then people like you can motivate and show them and teach them how to use them and what to do with all the negotiating strategies. It just isn't my passion, but I love helping people. So I weirdly found a way of how to still fulfill what I want to do to help people in a way I never thought I'd be doing.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, dude. And you guys are doing some crazy stuff, which we'll get into here in a sec. But real quick, let's hear a quick word from our sponsors. Have you ever wanted to invest in real estate, but you didn't have the time to find deals yourself? That's where Fundrise comes in. Fundrise is a crowdfunding platform that has transacted over $5 billion in real estate and has over 150,000 active investors. While many funds, like my own, require accredited investors, Fundrise allows anyone to invest with as little as $500. If you'd like to learn more, check out fundrise.com. Once again, that's fundrise.com. How often have you driven around and seen houses that were in rough shape? If you're a real estate investor, you know those are the best deals. With Batch Driven, you're now able to capitalize on those homes. You can mark the home, get owner information, and send them a mailer or a text right from the app. And there are other great features like lead management, MLS data, and real-time driving routes. If you want to start today, you can get half off your first month by going to batchdriven.com/Ryan. Once again, that's batchdriven.com/Ryan for half off your first month. Now, back to the show. So, one of the things you had to do was go all in, which is not easy for most people, right? I tell people this all the time. When you're starting this business in real estate, whether you're being a wholesaler or flipper, you got to go all in at it, right? It's hard to compete with me when I'm all in and I'm going hard at it and you're part-time, just maybe, getting after it. Like you'll run into a deal here or there. There's no doubt. And I'm totally supportive of the people who have a full-time job and are working to get that first deal and transition out. Like that period is very tough. Might be the hardest period you ever go through.
100%.
And but at some point you got to make the choice to go all in. And for me, when I went all in, I was flipping couches and playing baseball, just like doing all these hustles, dude. But I was still getting deals, but by no means was I reaching my full potential.
Right.
It was only after I went all in and retired from baseball, took everything off my plate and just said, I want to be the best house flipper in Las Vegas. Like, that's it.
Yep.
And, how am I going to be the best when I'm playing baseball half the year, right?
Right.
So I go all in and, in my own mind, accomplish my goal. Did I make more money than everyone else? Probably not. But in my mind, I'm like, I did the very best that I want to do. And same thing has happened with social media, right? Like a couple years later, I'm like, hey, I want to be the best, like, real estate social media guy, whatever you would call that guy.
I've talked to you this, off camera. Everything I've seen you do, you've been intentional, you've been consistent, and you've crushed it. And we're a part of some masterminds and stuff together. Or actually, I'm not a part of it, but I get to go to some of them. And it's just impressive what you've done. And you're that determined, that focused, and you're very intentional to where, that if someone could say, what's Ryan the greatest at? That's where I'd say, like, you really shine.
Just being focused.
Just ultra focused, ultra confident, and just determined. Like, no one could tell you differently, and you will just figure out how to do it. And you do. And now you're on to your next thing, and then your next thing. Like, every time I talk to you, I'm like, I thought I was doing a lot. So it's incredible, dude. It's really fun to watch.
I appreciate that, dude. I would say, for me anyways, I know when it's time for me to move on to the next thing, right? I'm like, hey, this is the goal, and I'm literally not doing anything else until this goal is done. And, is it related to the real estate side? It was like, hey, until I'm flipping 100 houses a year consistently, I'm not messing with anything else. And so reach that goal, great. What's next? Okay, like let's teach people, right? Because everybody at that point wants to learn.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, let's build the best possible coaching program we can. And, I feel like we did that at Future Flipper. And we're still, obviously, in my flipping business, in my education business, we're still trying to get better. It's not like, okay, those are done. Like,
right.
Those are staying the same. Like, no, we never want to stay the same. But I feel like my heavy lifting is done. Yeah. Like, I've laid the foundation. I've got the right people, the right seats. They're going to naturally push it forward without me.
Correct.
And I still obviously am there, but it's like they're going to be able to do the heavy lifting. Then it was social media and building that out. It's like until I can get to 100,000 YouTube subscribers and hit my goals with all the platforms and start this podcast, make it a top-rated podcast, I'm not going to do anything else, okay? We did that, hit my goals. I said, all right, now let's go to the next thing. Let's start a fund. Okay, let's, do the e-com business. And
I know I need to get on that webinar tomorrow. So how do I get onto that?
Well, by the time this airs, that webinar will have been done. But I will tell you off camera. But for those listening, by the time this probably airs, I would guess our fund will be full. But if it's not, actually, it doesn't matter if it's full or not because you'll still be able to invest in the next fund.
Stuff, right?
Yeah. We'll have the next fund. So go to pinedacapital.com and you can apply to join the fund wherever we're at. We're going to get great deals forever. There's no stop to that. But the point is, I've literally gone all in on whatever it was that I wanted to do, and I did not go to the next thing until that was done.
We were pretty good at that too. We wouldn't add another product until we really felt comfortable and had a good team to start something new, because you have to be able to support the people that are in the business and the people that are signing up for whatever product or service that you're, selling to them.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you guys realized just a year ago that it was finally time to just go all in. And I think that's a tough thing for people to do.
So we didn't realize it a year ago. We finally did it a year ago.
You realized it years ago.
We probably did another 6 to 7 months. And that's because our wholesale pretty much ran itself. We had some good people. Once things unravel with them a little bit, we're like, I'm not rebuilding this again.
Right.
But they had good jobs. They were making good money. we kind of held on a little longer because of the relationships with the people we had that were inside the business. And then once they wanted to go off on their own, then it was much easier for us to just be like, okay, and then we could seamlessly transition out of it.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and I think I've actually been having those thoughts lately with everything I'm doing, right? I mean, it's like, if I'm going to start a new business, it better make more than, the previous business, right? Like at this point, I'm only starting businesses that are like big money. And it's like, okay, the real estate brokerage, I love it to death, but it makes like less than 1% of my income,
Steve Treng's told me that too.
Yeah, and it's not that it's a bad business. For most people, it's a great business. And it's just with what I've built since then, it's just not even a drop in the bucket. Tax is kind of that way too. Is like, tax is great, it's very profitable, but in the grand scheme, it's a drop in the bucket. Yep. House flipping used to always be the bread and butter, and that was where I've made my wealth. But now as I go into these new things, it's not that that's a drop in the bucket, but it's like that's still now, instead of it being the, the 80-20 rule, where that was like 80% of my income, well, now that might be down to the 20% with how these other things play out. And so it's like education and e-commerce and the fund, those will far exceed everything else. And so it's like, man, for me to even think about another business, even though that's the furthest thing from my mind at this point, because I'm still, all three of those are my main focus. I'm like, I don't even know what it would have to be a SaaS tech product like what you have, where it's like, okay, this could go public, this could get sold or bought by an investor. Right. Like it could be, we're talking 9 figures.
I like that number.
Yeah. And that's the only way I would start a new business at this point, is if it had 9-figure selling potential. Doesn't mean I got to sell it, but just, hey, it's got to be valued at that.
I agree. I couldn't agree more, actually.
Yeah. So you guys obviously have realized this as well. But instead of going like wide like me, where I'm like, hey, let's start new businesses and whatever, you like went deep on the batch brand. And you're like laser focused on, hey, we're not doing anything but batch related activities.
Correct.
No more wholesaling, no more anything else I was doing. Like it's just batch. And how do we make batch the premier company in all of real estate investing? And I'm sure you got even bigger plans to get out of the real estate niche as well.
We sure do.
There we go. That's how you get to that really big numbers. So just tell me like what that's been like, just going so deep at it and starting with your core product of skip tracing to then developing, batch leads and this database. What was that like?
So what we've really been good at and what's really been helpful to us is, so a lot of SaaS products in real estate, they just have one thing that they're doing. So it's just a driving for dollars app, or just skip tracing, or, there's Mojo Caller, and it's just for that.
Yeah.
We've been able to build all these products, over years now, and we're able to use technology we already built for one and give it to another to really could start making our products superior to some of our other competition, which is super exciting, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to have a suite of products to where someone could come into, our sphere and really get that same experience and be able to understand everything that they're doing in one place.
So, and I'm not going to, there's a reason I promote batch to my students and why you guys are a sponsor. It's not because you guys are just paying me so much money that, I truly believe that you guys have the best product. Now, as far as product goes, I think the advantage you have over other companies, and I know that you guys would say that, oh, well, it's the best product even in its own niche standalone, but I think what you have better than everyone is the network effect of, hey, everything is together, right? Like we have the skip trace right here, you could text here, you could list stack, you can now have a dialer here, you can have your driving for dollars all in one spot. And so it's kind of like the Apple effect. Like, yo, if you want an iPhone, you better get a Mac with it.
You better get the earphones.
Yeah, you have to get the iPod, or not the iPod. You're not getting the
10
iPod.
years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not getting the iPod, but it started with the iPod. Just like you started with batch skip trace, right? And then it evolved into the iPhone, the flagship product, which for you guys is batch leads.
Absolutely.
And then you start off these other things like the iWatch. You need all this
dialer.
stuff. And it makes life easier. There's a reason I will not buy an Android phone or a PC computer, because I need to be able to text on my computer. Right. I need all of my mail synced. I need my Safari, and I don't have a choice. Apple has basically made me use like everything Apple, but also going forward, if there is another product, I have no choice but to buy it from Apple.
But so that's a good analogy, to be honest with you. But it makes your experience so much better because everything's so interconnected. And that's why I love Apple. I finally switched from Apple. I'm talking 2 years ago. I refused. I always had the Android. And once I started using all the products,
you realize you're like,
oh,
I'm
my
dumb.
mom has a phone now. My dad has, like, I literally bought my whole family phones because like this experience is so much better. And yes, you have to use everything else of theirs to make the experience great, but it makes that experience better than using the Androids. It just does.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's integrated when you have an Android phone. You got a Windows PC. You got whatever you got on the other things. You might even have an iPad, right? Like, you might have all these different companies, but none of them connect the way that Apple connects if you have everything Apple.
I agree.
And I think that's what you've done with Batch. That is the biggest strength. Because even if, let's just say your dialer isn't as good as another dialer,
right?
You're still more likely to use your dialer just because it's all intertwined.
Right.
So it gives you a huge advantage over the competition. And also, too, like you said, you get economies of scale that way as well. When you're using tech that you develop for one company and you can use it for another company, it allows you to do that very quickly.
Yep.
And it also allows you to already have a built-in customer base that immediately gives that product customers.
Yeah, we're able to do a lot of cross-selling in a good way to where people don't know about the other products. They'll sign up for one thing, and then so like if someone signs up for skip tracing, I have someone call every single person that just skip traces with us. He asks them where they're at with their business, what they're doing, and then just lets them know, okay, we have this, this, and this. Is there anything that you'd be interested in trying a trial on? And it's just really that simple to where we're just trying to help you. Like, I have ingrained this in our team, is if they don't succeed, they're not going to keep using us. So how can we help them, not just with our products, but we almost have to be teaching them, some real estate investing too. And a lot of our team has to know that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And I actually just got a spur of inspiration while you were saying that for my companies, because we do cross-selling as well. Now, granted, we are selling like totally different things versus what you're selling as far as it's all integrated into Batch.
Kinda.
Well, for me, though, I'm like, a lot of my people say who join Future Flipper and get coaching, they end up buying an e-com store from Lunar Ecom. They're totally different.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But then also they need tax, right?
Yeah, because I was like, definitely the True Books, and then I guess the agent thing you could cross-sell to maybe doing the. So it's not as integrated, but yes, there's going to be some cross-selling of every product though you have.
Right.
Sure.
But the problem I have is I don't have anyone dedicated to cross-selling, right? Like, whereas you're saying, hey, somebody skips from us, let's immediately call them. Let's see what else. They don't even know what other products we have a lot of times. They came there to just get one thing, and they don't even realize you have all these other tools that can help take them to the next level. And I need to do a better job of that. I need to create like a salesperson who's just...
I don't want to say like a brand ambassador is what I would think, but they have to know that's going to take time. And
they got to know all products.
All of them. That's what took us a long time. If you lose that person, you better find the next best person that has a pretty good knowledge of everything inside your business, because we've had to take those people inside our business. Like, what's really cool too about our business is we're able to have our team, they're able to, move up positions and cross into different jobs for different companies too, to where it's like, let's say they're on Batch Leads and there's a account manager there and there's an opening for dialer sales. So it's really cool to do that on that side too. But I would definitely say someone that has a lot of knowledge of all of them. If not, it's going to take you 3 months to probably train someone to do it. But I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
100%.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, when you got 6 different things to sell, it's like, well, for one, everyone needs tax. Like, that's
100%.
That's an easy one. But yeah, no, I'm with you, dude. I got to do a better job at that. And, I would say for you guys, I'm just super impressed with what you guys have built out and what you continue to build out. Because I saw you guys from the beginning of, just offering skip tracing, and just like most people start up business, like, hey, we're just like figuring it out, and we can get you guys good stuff. We're getting by with grit and hustle, and then that's every business. And then to see it become this sophisticated company with different arms and products. Like, how many employees do you have right now?
165.
165
between all the whole suite of products.
Yeah, to go from you and Evo to 165. What's your overhead a month?
Well over $1 million.
Well over $1 million a month in nut, guys. So that tells you, like, the skill set you had early on does not apply really to where you're at today. Like, it's a totally different skill set of, we got to manage a lot of people.
Honestly, we have a great team. Like, that's where it lies. It's not me. It's not Annie. It's not Evo. Obviously, we've done a good job, but without all the people we have and creating such a great culture and having a great team, like, I mean, we could only do so much.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, you guys are absolutely crushing. I mean, you're doing tens of millions in revenue. I mean, we're not going to get into that, but like, I look at it and I'm like, man.
Well, I hope so when our burn rate's over $1 million a month.
Yeah, you better make at least you better make 8 figures when you spend, at least 12. So, but I look at the software industry and it's like, okay, these tech companies are where people are getting these massive valuations, right?
Yeah.
Speak about that. Like, is that something that's in your mind about getting a valuation? Have you guys ever got like an appraisal, or not an appraisal, but like a third party to value the company? And
something we have to do with our new operating agreement. We have an idea because we know someone still has to want to buy it. And, the real estate, there's not a lot of M&A. Like, to be honest with you, I talked to some people that do M&A, mergers and acquisitions, and like the real estate investing space, for how big it is, it doesn't have a lot. It's such a new, I think the SaaS in real estate investing it's so new that there's not a lot of private equity or VCs buying them, but you still need to get an evaluation. And we're not planning on selling, but we've talked to a lot of people. You have to be set up and prepared to sell. One, that means your business is dialed in, from accounting to leadership to org charts to knowing everything, to where, one, you're just going to run better.
Yeah.
And two, if you do decide to make that transition, it's not going to take you 2 to 3 years to put that strategy together. And then who knows if someone even wants to buy you at that time.
Yeah, right. You may have your best offer today, and it would have made sense to sell.
But I have to be open to it. If someone comes and hands me that big of a bag, I have to just be like, all right, looks like I'm going to invest in Ryan's fund, and we're gonna rock and roll, I guess.
All right, what bag would it take, dude? What would make you sell at this point in your career? I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, I got 2 other partners, probably 500 million.
500 million, guys. You need $500 million to sell today.
I don't want to.
No, I know that. Yeah, I know you're not saying that's what it's worth. That's just the number that would make you sell.
It'd have to be some crazy number to be like, 300. If I got a hundo, I'd probably walk.
That's okay. So it's not. You already okay. Hold on, guys. He said he's a good sales guy, and he just talked himself down from 500 to 100. I didn't even say anything. It's the power of negotiating.
No, I just like thinking about it. I'm like, I'd be cool with that. But
yeah,
as I said,
I'd be cool. You got partners, but
it's my what would I go do? It's not about the money. It's about the purpose. And I love what I do. I love my team. It would really have to be some crazy number for me to even consider it, because it's not something I really want to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, so my students actually asked me this on a call. They were like, we were talking about my dream house on the mountain. They're like, what would you sell it for? I'm like, I'm not selling it. Like, I have no intention of selling.
There's always a number.
Yeah, I'm like, what am I going to buy? They're like, okay, but Ryan, you teach us. Everything has a price. Like, what are you going to sell it for? And they're like, what would you sell the land for right now? Would you take $5 million? I was like, no. Granted, I bought it for $620. I'm like, no, I'm not going to take it. I believe it's worth more than that anyway.
Right.
And I'm not going to take it. They're like, 10 million. I'm like, no, I still would not take 10 million right now.
Wow. I mean, it is a beautiful piece of land, and what you're doing with it's going to be once in a lifetime type stuff.
Yeah. It's one of a kind. Like, what could I replace it with? But then Saturday, I was touring the Summit, which is like Vegas's most premier community. It's by this company called Discovery, which has done these communities all over the world. And the minimum lot in there is like $5 million right now. Wow. Most houses are probably valued at $10 million at the minimum. So you're talking anywhere from 10 to 100 million. Like that's what there's going to be worth.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, this would be pretty tight to live in here as like the poorest guy. And I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, first off, I would never I'm not gonna say I would never live here because I would totally do it. But I'm like, man, it's $250,000 just to join it. It's like $6,000 a month in HOA and club dues, and your lot alone at the minimum for the peasant lot is $5 million.
Wow.
And if I want a good lot, we're talking 10 mil. And I'm like, okay, right. I've got my lot right now. Like, even if I did sell it for 10,
but you have so much equity. Like, if you buy there, how much equity do you have and what are you building? So it's just like,
yeah, exactly. Who knows? But anyways, I was thinking like, okay, the only way I like sell my lot and move there is if I just got such a dumb offer that I'm like, okay, I'll sell and I'll just build like a beast in there.
Right.
And
that's going to fund the project.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like right now, I don't think there's any amount for my lot that I would take, maybe like 50 mil, but just it's totally not worth that. I just don't want to sell it.
Correct.
Exactly. But like down the road, like let's say 2 years from now, I build the house, right? And the market is whatever it ends up being. And my life will be drastically different by then. Maybe I don't need the money and I don't care. But, maybe somebody offers me 50 million for the house. Then I'm like, oh man, I got to really think about this. Like, but then, you go through the process of having to build again. That's 3 years. And you're like, dude,
it's the time.
Yeah. I can't buy my time back. So
you cannot.
That's the hard thing as you start like leveling up is your time is the only limited resource you have. And, it's crazy to think about that. Like, okay, in 2 years, if I turn down $50 million or something, like how stupid is that? Like I'd have to be in such a position where I'm like, I don't care. But even now when I think about it, I'm like the fact that I would turn down $5 million for my lot right now, like a $4 million profit in a couple of months.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to sell it.
It's true though. It's what do you go put it into? What's your time worth? I mean, you literally have to have a house that you're building this for you.
Yeah.
So no other house is going to be this house you're building.
No, this is the perfect house because I'm building it for me.
Exactly.
Yeah. I picked the lot. I'm picking every detail of it. I can't go buy another house. It's just going to be worse no matter where it is. It could cost more and be worth more, but it's worse to me.
Correct.
So yeah, just interesting. It's just interesting, man. That's why I was curious, like what your number was, but you did negotiate yourself down pretty quick.
I did. I sure did.
We'll cut that out, guys. So all the VC guys, they're like, all right, Jesse's for sure. He'll take like $5 million for the company. Like he's a pushover.
Yeah, that won't happen.
So, okay, let's talk about the big plans then. I mean, you're already obviously doing crazy revenue and crazy profits. We don't know for sure what the company is worth at this point, but, and obviously you need a buyer, but you guys are working on that just in case if an opportunity did present itself. Yeah. But, assuming you guys are just going to keep chugging along and doing what you're doing, like what's the future look like?
We have another product rolling out in August. So we're excited about that to where we're going to be going, as you said, we've drilled really hard and deep into real estate and real estate investing in particular. We're going to be start offering data to, more enterprise companies in a lot of different verticals to where see what kind of data that they need. And then with our dialer side, we want to have inbound stuff coming in to where that could go to enterprise as well, to where basically any company could be using us for the dialer and then batch data to where we could really start using our resources to, sell elsewhere.
So you guys are trying, obviously the real estate niche is, you guys are real estate investing niche.
Yeah, a little bit of real estate in general, but, we want to talk to mortgage companies. How can we help them? Realtors, how can we cater to them? Our heart will always be in batch leads. Batch leads 100% is definitely built for real estate investors, and it always will because we cater to it so much. But we have a lot of this information and this technology we've created to where we could really start using it with other companies.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's obviously how you would get to the next level is like, all right, the pool of real estate investors is only so big, right? And I feel like you guys have tapped into it pretty good. Do you feel like with the investors you may have hit the ceiling already, or is there room left, or what do you think?
There's always room.
There's always room, but like, do you think, I guess with the 80-20 rule, it's like...
There's still room to grow, but yes, if we really want to, as you said, jump to the next step or the next level, we have to have other verticals. I mean, that's how all big companies grow and thrive is you need a larger pool of people to use your products, or else, you could only grow so big. Think of Slack. Slack's good for any company for communication. It's not just meant for real estate investors like a Podio would be.
Right.
What's worth more, Slack or Podio?
Well, I don't even think Podio was even meant for real estate.
It wasn't actually.
I don't know what Podio was meant for, but it sucks. And unfortunately, I have my CRM on Podio. I wish I didn't, but there's like not really other options. But even like, let's just, to speak to that, let's talk about Salesforce, right? Like Salesforce is this big behemoth.
Yeah.
And they're in every industry, They
are.
So it's like they've proven that, I don't know what industry they started in, but they're broad, they're business. And so they can go service anybody.
Correct.
And so that's kind of where you guys are headed is like.
We're picking some verticals that we're comfortable with, but yeah, we'll slowly keep adding on more. And we just have to learn how can our data, help you in which way and what are you looking for? Because we're going to have to build some stuff out specifically for some different verticals, which I'm excited to do because I'm like you. We've done a very good job. What's the next thing to where I could really push myself and learn and find new ways to, to grow revenue?
What do you think motivates you to do that?
Challenge. It's fun.
You're just bored?
I'm not bored at all. It's just fun trying something new. So you start off wholesaling. You want to challenge yourself on fix and flipping.
Yeah.
Then you want to challenge yourself to where could I build this rental portfolio?
Yeah.
Then, okay, how do I start developing? I mean, you've literally done that progression too. Like you need to keep pushing yourself to see how far you could go and how far you could push and challenge yourself to get better. Yeah. It's just challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, challenge is a great word. I love constantly being challenged. If I'm not challenged, I'm like, this sucks. It's like sports, dude. It's like if you
play sports.
Yeah, if you were just so good that you never were challenged, you're like, this is boring.
Right.
But it also means you're not playing with the right people.
Correct.
Right. And so, yeah, for me, for sure, challenge plays a role. Like you said, you never mentioned that like, oh, I want to like live this crazy lifestyle. Like you definitely, despite your Lambo, you're not living this crazy lifestyle that like, oh man, I got to fund this extravagant life. It's never about that. It's like, it's the challenge that pushes you forward. It's the, just like the next big thing, like, like let's conquer this. And for me, I do think I get bored. Cause I'm just like, all right, I don't know. I guess I enjoy the challenge of starting something completely new.
I do too. It's not good though.
It is not good for sure. Most people, I would definitely never suggest going wide like I have.
But you've done a good job because you've conquered it and mastered it, and you're really good at putting systems together and then moving on. And that's something we've learned too. Is your businesses better be dialed in if you're going to start another one.
Yeah.
And you're to the point too to where we're at. Unless I see this crazy thing, like I'm not going to go start lending hard money with you if we have $1 million to lend. It's a drop in a bucket that makes no sense. Like It needs to be big. It needs to be something that will challenge me and something that I truly believe in that could help impact lives. If it's not all three of those things, I don't want to have anything to do with it anymore.
Yeah. It's funny when you think about like venture capitalists, right? They are only looking for big ideas. They're like, if you can't become $1 billion company, like we ain't investing in you. And we're comfortable knowing that, 95% of our investments will be zero. They just are looking for maybe even more. They're just looking for the 1% of companies that end up hitting the jackpot.
Right.
Because those are the ones that, number one, obviously make a lot of money, but number two, change the world in a big way.
Yeah.
And it's weird to say, it's like, if I tried to go get my house flipping company, someone to buy into it. Yeah, I mean, there might be somebody, but it ain't somebody big. They're like, what am I going to do with this? This ain't changing the world. This ain't, you can't make house flipping. I guess you could with Open Door. I take that back. But Open Door is like changing it with tech.
Correct.
Not just let's flip houses profitably.
In our industry, I think the people that have done it great is Keegley's the one company that's really franchised and taken it to where they could position themselves for a PE to buy them or a VC.
Yeah.
To where, they're selling franchises, they have residual money, there's franchising costs.
Right.
And they've put together an amazing product, and they have some proprietary stuff on how they build lists and how they do things to where, it's valuable for someone to have that franchise. But besides that, I can't think of many unless you could think of something.
Well, I mean, I think you've got them and the people who started that We Buy Ugly Houses. I mean, Homevestors. They've been franchising forever, and I don't know if anyone's ever bought into them or whatever, but I know they've probably made a killing over the years doing that.
Pace had a franchise.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
A lot of, Mike Hambright, tons of people.
Tons of people have had, Homevestors franchises. I mean, they're the OGs. They've been doing it forever.
For sure.
But even with the franchise model, you can make a ton of money. I mean, a VC definitely might buy it, but I don't know. I don't see a real estate.
I see more of like a PE maybe.
Yeah, I don't see a real estate investing franchise being a $1 billion company. I see them investing in the Open Doors, the Zillows, the tech companies that, that's why I'm excited about Batch, the software. I mean, software and tech is like the easiest path to $1 billion. And I think about CRMs, look at Salesforce, they're all tech. And so I think when it comes to real estate, and actually now that I'm thinking about it too, I know Loan Depot, they just did some big things as a mortgage company, and Rocket Mortgage and Quicken, all those guys.
Yeah,
those
Quicken's huge.
Yeah, they're all huge. So I guess, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. It's just, man.
All I could say is if you're gonna dream big.
Yeah.
If you have a crazy idea, go for it.
Yeah, and I guess that's my point is once, the fund and all these other ideas that I've got are where I want them to be, and they're running smoothly without me.
You'll find something else.
I will find something else, and it will be like a big pie-in-the-sky attempt at whatever it is. Like, it'll be some type of, I already know, it's going to be tech. There's no doubt about it. Like, I have to get into the tech space in some form or fashion.
So, Batchinada.
Batchinada. We're gonna come to annihilate the competition in something. I don't know what, but even if there is no competition currently, we're gonna crush it.
But that just goes back to a Slack or to so many. Like, have you heard of ProfitWell?
No.
There's so many. Once you get into SaaS, there's all these companies, and you're like, and then you see the type of business. Trainual. Think of Trainual, and they just started, 2 years ago.
What are they worth? I don't even know.
I think they got valued at 150 or 200 already.
Yeah.
And he just got it started. My buddy Elijah is friends with the guy. He was talking to him at the Suns game when we went to game 1 last week. But, I mean, some of these evaluations are nuts. Like, you'd be surprised with the sales.
The recent books I've been reading are all about tech startups. So that's why I'm kind of like talking like this, because I'm like heavily influenced by that right now. But, I'm reading the book on Uber startup. I just read it on WeWork and how WeWork was, trying to become a real estate tech company.
The biggest scam in the last 10 years is WeWork.
For sure. Trying to act like, executive suites are this revolution of like tech. It's like, dude, you just are renting out office
What
space.
did they get up to, like 60 billion or something?
Yep. I mean, they got SoftBank to give them like 10 billion and... Yo,
that dude sold a dream.
Hey.
I just watched a documentary on it. It was incredible, like the rise and fall of that.
Yeah, the book was great. But it goes to show, we said it right at the beginning. You've got the smart assassins. You got the talker who can talk his way into anything. That dude talked his way into a $50-60 billion valuation. Crazy.
And he still has money too somehow.
Oh, he's still a billionaire
for sure.
But yeah, man, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Not being WeWork, but figuring out how I could.
I think you will. You will come up with your big idea, and I promise I'll be here to help because it will be hard. There's a lot to learn in SaaS, but
Yeah.
everything you put your mind to, you've been great at. So I'm not too worried with whatever you do. You'll be good.
Appreciate that, dude. Well, I really do appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you guys supporting not only the podcast, but all the students and just the real estate community in general. You guys are crushing it. And if you guys are thinking about using any of the Batch products, we'll link to them down below. I've got different affiliates with them, and they got different offers on those. So check them out. And yeah, man, appreciate you having you on.
Dude, thanks for having me. I don't fly out to a lot of podcasts. I really wanted to be on this. So thanks again for having me, bro.
All right, cool, man. And guys, if you're not subscribed already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching the Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.